What's going on, guys? So I've been telling y'all about how I've been wanting to do a Joseph Chiappalone narration for a real long time now. So let's just go ahead and get into it, guys. And then I got a link that I want you guys to check out at the end. It's a Twilight Zone episode called Judgment Day. Pretty scary episode. So I kind of advise people that if you like everything to be all chummy all the time, this is not necessarily one of those chummy videos. So if you get disturbed real easy, parental advisory. Don't watch this video or the link. Okay. But let's just go ahead and get into it, y'all. This is Joseph Chiappalone narration with a link for you guys at the end.
Proudly.
By the way, you can't even find this stuff on YouTube no more, guys. This is stuff that I downloaded and saved because I knew at some point we would not be able to find it on YouTube.
So I'm seeing things I don't
going to be cleared of.
friends have come
Right, Jeff.
clients.
Oh, this is Jeff Friends and Joseph Chiappalone. It's the Jeff Friends show, and he's having Joseph Chiappalone as a guest.
And those new clients
Ideally or mid-20s, 2020s.
in time, yeah.
My very first book that I released in 1985 said the
24 hours, 31 days a month, 365 days a year. It's not slowing down, Joseph, at all. There's nothing they can do. So how do you see it from down there in Oz?
You're quite right, Jeff. I'm not sure where the report came from, but I remember seeing it a few months ago that said that particular radiation will kill all the seas by the early or mid-20s, 2020s.
In time, yeah.
My very first book that I released in 1985.
Talking about just picking up where we at right now, guys. It's only going to be about 10 minutes. He's talking about Fukushima.
Said the planet was going to be cleared of all physical life in preparation for its total destruction. This is just one step. The radiation is just one step in clearing living things out of the planet. Why it has to be done, I've explained before. We've gone through it in depth. You know, you and I have been doing shows over 20 years. We know the end point of all this. So the important thing is now to prepare for that end.
By the way, a good way to protect yourself from radiation is potassium iodide, aka Lugol's iodine.
Point and see where some of us are going to go from then on. When I released information in 85, it didn't make any sense because everything appeared so stable. But now you mentioned that this mental fragmentation that people are undergoing, it's due to physical factors for sure. For example, the radiation, the chemtrails with the cadmium and aluminium.
You hear what he called it? He called it mental fragmentation. That's what I've been talking to you guys about for a couple of weeks or more now. You know, people are not mentally there. I think a few days ago I told you guys that pretty soon the mentally ill was going to outnumber people who, sane. And I tell you guys all the time, that's why sometimes I find like some days I feel like I don't even know what's important anymore. I feel like everything is just a distraction about what's really going on. And what's going on is that we are living in the end times, as every prophet has said.
And barium and strontium.
The vaccines, the medications that affect
how
the
about
brain.
the GMOs? What they're doing with GMOs was said last week to be in and of itself enough to end all life on the planet over time.
That's correct. I had that in the essay I posted the other day.
And that's exactly why some countries ban GMO foods, because GMO is an extinction. It's a ELE. GMO is an extinction level event.
Why people think it's a wonderful thing, but it's actually destroying brains. And I also told you that brains generally, in the majority of people, are minds, rather, lower minds are controlled by the programming of pollution and indoctrination of this mechanism that controls people as robots and demons from another level. That mechanism has been dismantled. So all these minds, unless they're attached to another mechanism, which is to a higher mind of a divine order, are just going to go berserk. In other words,
Yeah, they're showing like zombies on the screen right now, guys. I'm not going to show that right now, but notice he said if you are not connected to that higher consciousness, that super mental level, it's like World War Z. You just, I mean, I told you guys, people are walking around like energetic slugs. I see women overworking themselves in the workplace. These men don't want the men don't want to be men anymore. They want to be women and call it equality and all that old bullshit. But this is bad. Mental fragmentation is bad. It's bad, guys. It's bad.
Going to be erratic, like robotic toys that have broken down. The battery's finished, and they collapse all over places.
Let's listen to that one more time. What's going to happen if you don't connect to the super mental level?
From another level. Now that mechanism has been dismantled. So all these minds, unless they're attached to another mechanism, which is to a higher mind of a divine order, are just going to go berserk. In other words, they're going to be erratic, like robotic toys that have broken down. The battery's finished, and they collapse all over the place. And this is what's happening to minds all over the world, not just in any one particular spot. The only ones that have remained sane, while this terminal badness is taking over the whole world, are the ones connected to this superior consciousness that I've spoken about in the past.
The only people that's going to remain sane is the people who are going to be able to tap into that super mental level of consciousness. Let's listen to it one more time.
So all these minds, unless they're attached to another mechanism, which is to a higher mind of a divine order, are just going to go berserk. In other words, they're going to be erratic, like robotic toys that have broken down. The battery's finished, and they collapse all over the place. And this is what's happening to minds all over the world, not just in any one particular spot. The only ones that have remained sane, while this terminal badness is taking over the whole world, are the ones connected to this superior consciousness that I've spoken about in the past. We're lucky now, well, in a sense, we can see exactly what's going on. If you read that essay I just posted in my website and yours a couple of days ago, we can see all the mechanisms now that lead to final termination of life on Earth. That does not mean that it's termination of life. The physical existence is only one small part of an existence, and then it's a small artificial temporary part of existence. There's an ethereal existence, there's an astral existence, and there's a divine existence on many other levels, because creation is far greater than just the physical dimension. I've said that the physical dimension was an error that has to be disassembled sooner or later. And by the way, that's the oldest message in the oldest book that we have on this earth. And that comes from the sacred scriptures, that ultimately the earth would be destroyed and the righteous will be rewarded and the evil ones will go to perdition. So it's not something anyone's made up. Every son of God that we call avatars that ever presented on this earth has only had one message, that eventually this place has got to finish. And this place was condemned when it refused, the one who built it refused to cooperate and cleanse it, as it were.
Well, I'm beginning to see, you described it very well, I hate to say this, but it's my observation that I'm beginning to sense in the news, the flow of the news, the pulse of the news, texture of the news, such as it is, mainstream or alternative, I'm beginning to sense a jaggedness, a ragged texture, a beginning of a fragmentation of logic, cohesion. Now we know Americans are being, and all people are being dumbed down in the developed world. We know that. But I'm talking about a lack of an ability to act in a linear, logical, pragmatic fashion. It seems to be more of a random mental functioning in many people. Not all evil, not all bad, but it's not what it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago. It's changed. That's my sense of it. Now, I may be totally wrong. I don't know.
Oh, you're totally right. Bingo, you've got it. It's the fragmentation of mind. It's the fragmentation of the physical in general, of the bodies, of the seas, of the air, of the soil. Everything is fragmenting. Now, all these things they've tried in the past and succeeded are no longer working. The ones
they
that are aware are seeing through all the evil schemes, and they can't get away with it. But on top of that, the ones that are causing all this evil are unimpeded in their self-destructive mode. They've been allowed to self-destruct, and that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly what the end point is going to be. They will destroy themselves and the rest of us because we have to leave the physical anyway, as the physical is destroyed by other mechanisms that I've explained in the essay. So you're absolutely right, and you can see through the illusion of where they're trying to stimulate Americans to go to war again against ISIS, a thing they made up themselves, like they made up Al-Qaeda, to go to war for no other reason than to stimulate their economy, to keep the dollar on the top, to gain more wealth, and so on and so forth. But this time it's not going to work. And although they will have a war, no one will win. Previously, they thought they'd won, even though they'd lose a few thousand soldiers and kill a few million of the lesser breed, as they thought of them in the opposition. But now, no one is going to win. And this coming war that they're definitely stimulating, trying desperately to get started,
no winners.
Is going to be the end of them and the end of most of us.
Yeah.
So you're right. What you're seeing is perfectly correct. You're seeing with your inner vision that there's that fragmentation, that mental fragmentation that will lead to the self-destruction that I've spoken about earlier in other shows and so on and in my books.
Yeah.
The end point of it all, Jeff, is we're all going to leave this physical life. But not all of us are going to go on to other living, to other creative living in divine realms. Quite a number, in fact, the majority are going to end because they are not worthy to continue. Now, I'm going to mention a point I've never made before, but I think it's time to do so. They are not going to be simply transmuted and go into a pleasant eternal sleep. Of course not. Their minds are going to be unblocked. They will be transmuted, but they will exist in an eternal moment of terror that equates to the accumulation of all the pain and suffering they have caused others. Now, this is really, really a horrendous stuff.
So understand what he's saying. He's saying that the people who have done other people wrong, they're going to experience that the torment is going to be, they're going to experience a type of torture that never ends. It's kind of like, I mean, we've seen probably movies, cartoons about this in the past, about what is hell really like. It's kind of like, imagine the people who, what they did to innocent people, imagine them suffering the same torment, except it don't happen just one time. It just keeps happening over and over. That's their punishment. God just reverses it, except it's like eternal punishment. And that's what the Twilight Zone link is about.
To be in. And that's what is awaiting these evil beings that we've
And that's divine justice.
identified throughout the ages. So I want them to know they're not going to get away with anything. They have to pay back. That's the divine justice. So none of my readers, none of your listeners should worry at all about them getting away with anything. They will get away with nothing. And these people are liars, hypocrites, and murderers, as we know. They've destroyed country after country after country. They've caused so much pain and suffering to good, just, loving people. They will not get away with it. They have to pay for every urge of suffering.
It kind of reminds me of that Tupac song where he's like, I probably leave that in the link. What do you say? A coward dies 1,000 times, a soldier only dies but once.
They have caused others, and they will. So this is an horrendous end for them, and they will now know that. I've never revealed this before, but it's time to do so. So what is really happening, people have to get their heads around this, that nothing is going to get better. That is a positive thing in a sense, because it means the end of all evil. Evil is finished. Not just this planet, but this galaxy at this time. Other galaxies have already been eliminated, and the ones that remain will be eliminated shortly. But it's the end of this evil, and we go on to better things.
Okay. So that was a Chiappalone interview with Jeff Prince I had to dig up. And I'm going to leave you guys a couple of links. Uh, Twilight Zone. Yeah, it's a Twilight Zone. It's one of the scariest Twilight Zone episodes I've ever seen. And it goes right into what Joseph Chiappalone said about the eternal suffering that's coming for people who done other people harm, innocent people. How they'll be eternally tortured with the same torture that they inflicted on the innocent. Except they're gonna experience it over and over and over and over and over again. They won't be able to sleep. They'll just it'll be like a continuous nightmare that they can't get out of. Check out the links. Holler at y'all later, all right? Peace.